Today we'll be taking a look at the female pilots of World War II by telling the story of WWIII member Madge Moore. Grandpa, tell me about the war!
Well, sweetie, I fought back in the Civil War. I was part of the Confederate Army back then. We suffered a major loss. I was involved in the Battle of Antietam. That was an extremely bloody battle I'll never forget. I was out on the front lines. There was sleet, barely any food, barely any water. It was a really rough life. But I loved it. You get this pride for your country and it never leaves you. Never. Still to this day, I remember waking up, looking at the flag and just feeling so inspired that you're doing something good for your country, even if you're risking your life every day.
Well, I want to do that. Madge spent all of her days dreaming about being part of the war, even though it was hard because she was a girl. Inspired by progress in female aviation, Madge dreamed of becoming a pilot.
This just in! Jackie Cochran flew a bomber across the Atlantic Ocean, the first woman to do so! This only made Madge's desire to fly grow even more than it had ever been before. She could not contain her excitement.
I'm here today with Nancy Harkness Love, founder of the Women's Auxiliary Ferrying Squadron. Would you like to tell us a bit about why you started this foundation?
Sure. Well, I started this foundation because my uncle was in the war and I felt really influenced by him, and I know a lot of other people are influenced by older generations in their family, and I figured if we had women working in the military, on the forces, in the air, we could free up a lot of extra manpower that they could fight on the front lines, and that would really help us in the end.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Just getting into the WASP was very hard. There was about 24,000 girls who applied and roughly 2,000 of us got in. So it was very hard just to do that part. And then once we actually got in, of course, the men were a lot more important and their training was a lot more put together than ours, to say the least. We got hand-me-down equipment pretty much, and for example, the parachutes we used were designed for men's bodies, which, in case you don't know, are a little different from women's bodies, and they didn't exactly, work how they were supposed to. So it was a lot of hard work, but we had about a month of training before they let us go fly a plane. We also didn't have uniforms, lodging, good trainers, and the planes we used were pretty much just whatever they could scrap together, which is always good for your military. We weren't given life insurance, and we also weren't trained for combat, but rather emergency situations. Women flew most of the planes in the war, and the most used plane was the B-17, and I got to fly it, and let me tell you, it was pretty sweet, good deal, worth all the problems that went into getting into this program. Pretty much we were there to deliver cargo, and we also brought planes from the factory to the actual bases, and we also brought targets for them to practice on.
But there was always opposition. Time newspaper published an article titled "Unnecessary and Undesirable," calling the WASP experiment expensive and claims that men could have been trained more quickly than women.
However, it had to all come to an end. In 1944, the WASP program was disbanded.
In 2009, President Obama bestowed the WASP program with the Congressional Gold Medal.